Any of you have a time in your life, do you remember when things just got to seem to be too much, that you were stressed? That's what happened to me, and that's what really led me on my journey to do research and to actually learn about stress in a way that I never thought I would have maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Because I fully do believe that you cannot have a rewarding, fulfilling life, professional fulfillment, fulfillment in your avocation, what you like to do, without really taking a leadership position on stress and health and wellness in your life. I think it's just something that we all have to do. And it requires some time out, but I think it's well worth it. The best stress zone and optimal stress as a concept is really about the idea of what is the ideal stress for you, the right amount and the right type. Now this is grounded in the fact that stress is inevitable. We all experience stress, right? Stress is inevitable. And I spend so much time, and most of you spend time trying to get rid of stress, and that makes you more stressed, am I right? What I want you to think about is this. The right type, the right amount can be defined by three things. Your three P's. Your purpose, your passions, and your priorities. You know when you have a deadline that you have to meet, when you have to get groceries in the house, when you have to get something on the table in a certain amount of time, can't you get it done? Whereas prior to that, you might have said to yourself, there's no way I can't get it done. So increasing stress, you're going to get increasing performance until you get to a certain point. Beyond that point, there's diminishing return, and in fact, you get stressed out or burned out. We need the stress response acutely. But chronically, long-term, it's unhealthy. That's a real core concept for thinking about life in the best stress zone. Stress in itself is not bad. Basically, what the book allows you to do is to begin with looking at what's important in your life. You'll be able to define for yourself those three P's, your purpose, your passions, and priorities. And then you'll be able to think about some of the traps that you might be experiencing that make it difficult for you. There are triggers, life events, that lead to responses. There are four types on either side. It's our perception that's really going to determine what happens, how we interpret it. Now here's the real value of this, which is why the Best Stress Zone and this program, I think, has been helpful for people. And that is when we look at stress in this way, reframing it and rethinking of this definition, there's so many places where we can make a difference for ourselves. There's no one thing that we have to do. Are you with me? So what we can do is we can take a look at the triggers. You know what we can do with some of the triggers in our lives, particularly those chronic ones? We can just reduce the intensity or frequency, the amount of time that we spend in certain situations. Are you with me? Is that something you can do? We also know that hostility increases the impact of some of those triggers. So it's a matter of examining yourself and thinking about how can I allow myself just on a baseline to be more calm. We can also think about your predispositions, your personality. Resilience is one component of that. It's a buffer. It can moderate the impact of that trigger. Because remember, it's inevitable that you might have to be exposed to the trigger, but the response you can modify. You know, it's really interesting. I give workshops around the country, and one of the things when I give workshops with men and women, and I ask guys about work and life and balance, well, they don't just have two silos. They have three silos, right? They have work, life, and what's the other one? It's called self, right? And they're not afraid to say it. And in fact, it's always there. So I invite you to think about that as well, because when I ask them, and they always laugh, they acknowledge it, they say, well, duh, why not? Because we need to bring that to the table too. It's a part of what we need for that balanced life for ourselves. I want you to think about stress and just chill. ICE is identify the stressors that are in your life, the ones that are important within those three P's. I want you to classify them and then ultimately embrace those stresses. Have you had a traumatic stressor in your life at some point in the past? Childhood trauma, maybe trauma as an adult. To be able to really think about it and to understand the impact on you. To work it through either with yourself or with a professional. That's really important to do. To identify maybe it's something on the job with a tyrannical boss as depicted up there. Maybe it's about your kids. Maybe things are just happening to you recurrently that are acute stressors. But I want you to identify what's important to you. But more importantly, when you identify those stressors, you need to look at your situation. Is it your weight? Is it an elderly parent? Are you concerned about your job? And really focus on it in terms of what matters. Remember, we talked about several points that are important. What can you control? What can you not control? What can you influence? And then predictability. If it's associated with your 3 Ps, your purpose, your passions, and priorities, those are the stressors that I want you to embrace. What I want you to do is come up with what's non-negotiable for you in your life. One of the things that women tend not to do is to reach out for help. If you need some help in thinking about something, you need a team around you, you want to get rid of the people who are toxic in your life and surround yourself with people who can help you. What if there are certain situations that are part of your 3 Ps, so it's a stressor that you have to embrace, but that you know that it causes you one of those responses to the point that it's not healthy for you? What if instead you actually allow yourself to experience that in a way that you feel those emotions, those thoughts, and you let that work for you so that you can get through those situations? The difference between the stress response and the relaxation response is that the stress response is automatic. It's inherent in our body. It just occurs. We depend on it, we need it. Whereas the relaxation response is a manual response. If you want to integrate these little, what I call power pauses throughout the day, you do it at the beginning of the day, you do it at midday, you do it in the evening, it really will allow you to be replenished, to be rejuvenated. What you'll be able to find in this book is that you cause stress. I cause stress in my life. We do it because it's the ultimate mind-body connection. And if you create the stress in your life, you can change the stress in your life.